Have you ever felt your heart pound when someone says hello in English? I remember my first time in a foreign country, standing at an airport, completely frozen because a friendly stranger smiled and said, "Hi, how are you?" My mind went blank. I had studied English for years in school, but in that moment, every word vanished. That's when I realized that learning English isn't just about memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It's about connecting with people through stories and simple, everyday conversations. And that's exactly what we're going to do together. Welcome to Beginners, Learn English Through Stories. I'm your guide, and I promise, by the end of our journey, you'll not only understand English better, but you'll feel confident using it in real life. Let's start with a story about my first conversation, and I'll share some essential tips that will make your learning journey smoother. Picture this: I was in London, clutching my suitcase, when a woman approached me. She said, "Hello, do you need help?" Now, here's a key tip: hello is more formal than hi, but both are friendly. In English, we often use hello in slightly more formal situations or when meeting someone for the first time. Hi is casual and perfect for friends. But back to the story, I managed to stammer, I am fine. She smiled and replied, "That's great. I'm Sarah. What's your name?" This is a common conversation starter. Notice how she used I'm instead of I am. In spoken English, we often use contractions like I'm to sound natural. So, remember, I am becomes I'm, you are becomes your, and so on. It makes your speech flow better. In that moment, I learned my first big lesson: listening is as important as speaking. When Sarah asked my name, I should have said, "My name is Alex," but I was so nervous. Instead, I said, "Name Alex." She understood, though. That's another tip: people are usually kind and will try to understand you, even if you make mistakes. So, don't be afraid. Now, let's break down that simple conversation. What's your name is a question. What's is short for what is. In English, we use questions to show interest. Other simple questions include "Where are you from?" or "How are you?" When answering, you can say, "I'm from Spain," or "I'm good, thanks." Notice how thanks is informal for thank you. Small words like these make you sound more natural. As we walked to the taxi stand, Sarah asked, "Is this your first time here?" I nodded and said, "Yes, first time." Here's a grammar tip. In English, we often use articles like the or a. For example, a first time isn't correct, it's the first time because it's specific. But in casual talk, sometimes we skip words, and that's okay when you're starting out. The key is to practice. So, let's practice together. Repeat after me: hello, my name is, your name. I'm from, your country. Nice to meet you. See? That wasn't so hard. In our next stories, we'll build on this, learning about hobbies, food, travel, and more. But for now, remember this: every conversation is a story waiting to be told, and you're the author. So, take a deep breath, and let's learn English one story at a time. That first conversation with Sarah was like a key unlocking a door. I realized that English wasn't a monster to be feared, but a tool for connection. And the best place to practice this tool? A cozy, bustling London cafe. The smell of coffee and fresh pastries filled the air, a universal language of comfort. Sarah led me to a small wooden table and asked, "So, what would you like to drink?" This question is a gateway to a very important skill, making requests politely. Now, listen carefully. "What would you like?" is much more polite and common than "what do you want?" Using would like is a simple trick that makes you sound respectful and friendly. It's a phrase you will use in restaurants, shops, and homes. I looked at the menu, my eyes wide. So many words. Coffee, tea, latte, cappuccino. Here's a tip: don't try to learn all the words at once. Focus on what you need. I knew I wanted coffee with milk. So I took a small breath and said, "I would like a coffee, please." Did you hear that tiny but powerful word? Please. Always say please when you ask for something. It's magic. Sarah smiled and said, "Good choice. I'll have a tea with milk." Then she turned to the barista, the person who makes the drinks, and said, "Hello, can I get a black coffee and a tea with milk, please?" Notice she used "can I get." This is another very natural and polite way to order. You can also say "I'd like" or "could I have." They all work perfectly. The barista replied, "Sure, anything else?" He spoke quickly, but I understood the key words, anything else. This is a common question meaning, "Do you want more things?" I shook my head and said, "No, thank you." Another essential phrase, "no, thank you," is polite for refusing something. While we waited, Sarah taught me a wonderful word, "to go." In the UK, if you want to take your drink with you, you ask for it to take away. But in many other places, like the US, they say "to go." So you can say, "Can I get a coffee to go, please?" This small phrase is incredibly useful. Our drinks arrived. The barista said, "Here you are." This is what people say when they hand you something. You can simply reply, "Thank you." I took my coffee and said, "Thank you." It felt like a victory. I had successfully navigated a real-life situation. Every small conversation like this is a step forward. Don't be afraid to practice these phrases out loud, even if you're alone. Say them with me. "I would like a coffee, please." "Can I get a tea to go?" "No, thank you." "Thank you." Perfect. You're doing it. Sitting in that cafe with a warm cup in my hands, I felt a new sense of confidence. But then Sarah looked at me and asked, "Are you hungry?" Their sandwiches are delicious. My stomach agreed, but my vocabulary panicked. I knew the word sandwich, but what kind? This is where we move from drinks to food, a whole new delicious world of words. Let me share with you how I navigated that menu, and I'll give you the essential vocabulary you need for any cafe or restaurant. The menu was a list of wonders. Chicken sandwich, cheese sandwich, tomato soup. Here's a vital tip: when you see a noun like sandwich, the word before it, like chicken or cheese, describes it. We call this an adjective. It doesn't change for singular or plural. So, 1 chicken sandwich, 2 chicken sandwiches. The chicken stays the same. Sarah saw me thinking and asked, "Do you like chicken?" "Do you like" is one of the most useful questions in English. You can use it for food, hobbies, music, anything. I answered, "Yes, I like chicken." A simple, strong sentence. Then I saw a word I didn't know, tuna. I pointed to it and asked Sarah, "What is tuna?" Never be afraid to ask this question. What is, or what does, word mean, are your best friends when learning. People are always happy to explain. She said, "Tuna is a fish. It's very good." And just like that, I learned a new word. I decided to be brave. I said, "I will have the tuna sandwich." Notice I used "I will have." This is a very natural and polite way to order food. It's a little more confident than I would like. You can use both. When the server came, Sarah said, "We're ready to order." Another great phrase. It tells the server you have decided. I took a deep breath and said, "I will have the tuna sandwich, please." The server smiled and said, "Excellent choice." "And for you," meaning "and what do you want?" Sarah ordered her food. Then the server asked me a crucial question, "Here or to go?" I remembered our previous lesson. I said, "Here, please." Because we were eating in the cafe. Learning English is about building on what you know, one block at a time. This simple interaction, asking about a word, ordering food, saying "here please," made me feel like I could truly do this. Your turn to practice. Say, "I will have the chicken sandwich, please." What is tuna? We are ready to order. Well done. You're not just learning, you're having a conversation. The food arrived, and it was a moment of truth. The server placed a plate in front of me and said, "Here is your tuna sandwich. Enjoy your meal." This is a very common thing servers say. The appropriate response is a simple "thank you." But then, I looked at my plate and realized I had forgotten something crucial. There was no knife or fork. In many places, especially for sandwiches, people eat with their hands. But I wanted to cut it in half. This led to my next mini-adventure in communication, asking for things. I turned to Sarah and said quietly, "I need a knife." She was kind, but she taught me a better way to say it. It's more polite, she explained, to say "Can I have a knife, please?" or "Could I get a knife, please?" This was a game changer. Using "Can I have?" or "Could I get?" transforms a demand into a polite request. It shows respect and is much more effective. Remember this structure, you will use it every day. So, I caught the server's eye and said, "Excuse me?" That's another essential phrase. Use "excuse me" to get someone's attention politely. It's better than saying "hey." When he came over, I used my new phrase, "Can I have a knife, please?" He replied immediately, "Of course. I'll bring it right away." Of course is a friendly way to say yes. And right away means very soon or immediately. Learning these small phrases helps you understand the natural flow of conversation. While we ate, Sarah asked me, "So, what do you think of the food?" This is a common question when sharing a meal. I wanted to say it was good, but I only knew that one word. She helped me expand my vocabulary. You can say it's delicious if you really like it. Or it's tasty. If it's just okay, you can say it's good. This is so important. Having more than one word lets you express yourself better. My sandwich was amazing, so I practiced saying, "It's delicious." Don't be afraid to use new words immediately. It helps you remember them. The rest of the meal was a practice in enjoying both the food and the language. I learned that every interaction, no matter how small, is a chance to learn and connect. You are building your skills one polite request and one new word at a time. After we finished our delicious meal, Sarah looked at her watch. "I have to go soon," she said, "but my friend Leo is joining us. He's very friendly." My heart did a little jump. Another person? Another conversation? This was moving fast. But it was also the perfect chance to practice a vital skill, introducing people. This is something you will do often, so let's learn how to do it smoothly. Just then, a man with a big smile walked into the cafe. Sarah waved him over. "Alex, this is my friend, Leo," she said. Then she turned to Leo. "Leo, this is Alex. He's visiting from Spain." Did you see how she did that? The structure is simple but very important. You say, "Person A, this is Person B." Then you turn to the other person and say, "Person B, this is Person A." It's a polite way to connect two people. Leo extended his hand and said, "It's nice to meet you, Alex." This is the standard, polite greeting when you meet someone for the first time. My job was to respond. I stood up, shook his hand, and said, "It's nice to meet you too, Leo." Always remember to add "to" at the end when someone says it to you first. It completes the greeting. Another common phrase is "pleased to meet you." They mean the same thing. Now we were 3 people at the table. This is a key moment. In English, when someone new joins a group, we often ask a simple question to include them. Leo looked at me and asked, "So, what brings you to London?" This is a very common question for tourists or visitors. It means "Why are you here?" or "What is the purpose of your visit?" I was prepared for this. I had practiced. I said, "I am here on holiday." The phrase "on holiday" is British English for "on vacation." It's a crucial phrase for travelers. You can also say "I'm here for vacation" or "I'm visiting." Then, to keep the conversation going, I asked him a question in return. This is very important. Good conversation is about both asking and answering. I asked, "And you? Do you live in London?" He said, "Yes, I live near here." Asking a follow-up question shows you are interested. This simple introduction wasn't scary at all. It was just a few phrases, but they opened the door to a new friendship. Leo settled into the chair beside me and took a sip of his coffee. "So Alex," he began, "what do you do?" For a second, I froze. I understood the question, but my mind scrambled for the right words. I was a student, but how do I say that? I took a breath and said, I am student. It was almost right, but Leo smiled kindly and said, "Ah, you're a student. That's great." He wasn't correcting me to be mean, he was helping. And that's how we learn. This is one of the most important grammar tips you will ever get. In English, we almost always use an article like a, an, or the before a singular noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. So, you are a student. You live in a city. You have a book. The word is used before words that start with a consonant sound. But what about an? We use an before words that start with a vowel sound, a, he, I, o, you. For example, you would say, "I am an engineer," or "I want an apple." It's a small rule that makes a huge difference in sounding natural. I repeated the sentence correctly, "I am a student." Leo then asked, "What are you studying?" Notice the structure of his question. He didn't say, "What you study?" He said, "What are you studying?" This is called the present continuous tense. We use it for actions that are happening now or around now. Since being a student is my current situation, our studying is perfect. I answered, "I am studying English." And it was true. Right at that moment, I was studying English by having this real conversation. Leo then shared about himself. "I'm a chef," he said. "I work in a restaurant near here." He used the present simple tense, I work. We use this for habits, routines, and permanent situations. So, his job as a chef is his routine. This contrast between present simple for routines and present continuous for current actions is fundamental. Let's practice. Say, "I am learning English right now." That's present continuous. Now say, "I learn English every day." That's present simple. See the difference? You're doing it. This conversation in the cafe was teaching me more than any textbook ever had. Every question was a new lesson. The conversation with Leo flowed easily, and soon he asked me another fantastic question for beginners. "So, what is a normal day for you?" This was my chance to use the present simple tense to describe my routine. But my mind went blank again. How do I talk about my day? Leo saw my hesitation and said, "For example, I wake up early every day. I go to the restaurant at 10 in the morning." And just like that, he gave me the perfect template. Let's break down his sentence. I wake up early every day. Wake up is the phrasal verb for stopping sleep. Early is the time. Every day is the frequency. This is the classic structure for routines: subject plus verb plus time plus frequency. I took a deep breath and started. I wake up at 8 o'clock, I said. Then I added another sentence. I have breakfast at 9. Leo nodded encouragingly. I study English in the afternoon. I was building a story with simple blocks. Here is a crucial tip: when you talk about specific times, use the preposition at. I wake up at 8 o'clock. I go to bed at midnight. For parts of the day, we use in. I study in the afternoon. I relax in the evening. But for days, we use on, like on Monday. These small words are prepositions, and they are very important. Don't worry about getting them perfect immediately. Just start using them. I continued describing my day. I watch movies in the evening. I read a book before sleep. Leo smiled and said, "You mean, before you go to sleep?" He was gently correcting me again. Before sleep isn't wrong, but before I go to sleep or before bed is more natural in conversation. This is another key to learning, listening to how native speakers phrase things. You don't just learn words, you learn chunks of language. Go to sleep, have breakfast, watch movies, these are all common phrases. Practicing my daily routine with Leo was incredibly helpful. It used common verbs and time expressions. Try it yourself. Describe your day right now. Use I wake up at. I work at. I eat at. I go to bed at. This simple exercise builds fluency and confidence. You are using the most useful tense in English to talk about your life. And that's what language is for. You're doing great. Let's keep building. Talking about my daily routine felt like a victory, but Leo wanted to know more about me as a person. When you're not studying, he asked, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? This question, what are your hobbies, is a wonderful gateway to more personal conversations. It allows you to share your passions and find common interests with people. I knew the word for my favorite activity. I like music, I said. It was a good start, but it was a very simple sentence. Leo, being the great teacher he was, helped me expand it. Do you listen to music, or do you play an instrument? He asked. This is an important distinction. Listen to music is what you do with your ears. Play an instrument is what you do with your hands, like a guitar or piano. I explained, I listen to music. I also play the guitar a little. Notice the word the before guitar. We often use the when talking about musical instruments. Then Sarah joined in. I love to read, she said. I'm reading a great book right now. Did you see the difference? She used I love to read for her general hobby. Using love is stronger than like. For the specific book she is currently enjoying, she used the present continuous, I'm reading. This is a perfect example of the grammar we talked about earlier. For hobbies, we often use like /love/hate plus the verb with to or ing. For example, I like to swim or I like swimming. Both are correct. Leo then taught me a very useful word, really. He said, I really like to cook, even when I'm not at work. Adding really before a verb like makes it stronger. It means very much. So, I like football is good, but I really like football is better. I decided to try it. I really like Spanish music, I said. It felt good to express a stronger opinion. Learning these small intensifiers makes your speech more dynamic and interesting. Try it with your hobbies. Say, I really like movies, or I really love to dance. You are not just sharing information, you are sharing a piece of yourself. The topic of hobbies was a wonderful bridge to an even more exciting subject. Leo, finishing his coffee, looked at me and asked, "So, you are in London for a week. What are you going to see?" For a moment, I just stared. What are you going to see? The structure sounded familiar but different. This was my first real-life encounter with the future tense. This is how we talk about future plans in English. We use be going to. It's simple and very common. Look at the structure: subject plus // or plus going to plus the main verb. For example, I am going to visit, you are going to see, he is going to travel. Leo had asked, "What are you going to see?" because he was talking about my plan for the week. I finally formulated my answer. "I am going to see the Big Ben," I said. Sarah gently corrected me. "We usually just say Big Ben, not the Big Ben." Little articles can be tricky. I was excited now. I continued, "I am going to see the London Bridge. I am going to go to the museums." Leo nodded. "Those are great plans. I am going to visit my family this weekend." He used the same structure to talk about his own plan. Then he taught me a shorter, very common way to say the same thing. In spoken English, he said, we often say gonna instead of going to. So, I'm gonna visit my family. It's more casual. This is a really important tip for understanding real conversations. I'm going to help becomes I'm gonna help. It sounds more natural when people speak quickly. But what about will? You might have learned will for the future. Will is often used for instant decisions or promises. For example, if the phone rings, you might say, "I'll get it." Or if you promise something, "I will help you tomorrow." For plan things, like my tourist itinerary, be going to is perfect. This conversation was a revelation. I wasn't just learning grammar, I was learning how to talk about my future. Try it now. What are you going to do after this lesson? Say, "I am going to practice English." Perfect. You are talking about the future. The conversation about my plans filled me with energy. I was actually using the future tense. But then Sarah glanced at her phone and her expression changed. "Oh no," she said, "I am going to be late for my meeting. I have to leave right now." This introduced a new kind of urgency, a new way to talk about the immediate future. She stood up quickly and said, "It was lovely to meet you, Alex. Good luck with your travels." I stood up too, a little flustered. This was my first goodbye in a real English conversation. I knew I had to respond appropriately. I said, "It was nice to meet you too. Thank you for your help." I kept it simple and polite. Leo also stood and gave her a quick hug. "See you later, Sarah," he said. And with a wave, she was gone. See you later. This is one of the most common ways to say goodbye to someone you know you will see again. It's casual and friendly. Other options are see you soon, or just bye. For a more formal goodbye, you can say goodbye or it was a pleasure to meet you. But with friends, see you later is perfect. I made a mental note of that. Learning the nuances between formal and informal greetings and goodbyes is essential. Now it was just Leo and me. He turned to me and said, "So, I am going to walk towards the river. My restaurant is that way. What are you going to do now?" He was giving me a perfect model of the future tense again. I looked at my map. I had a plan. I said, "I am going to go to the Tower of London." I was proud of that sentence. It was complete and correct. Leo's face lit up. "Excellent choice. You are going to love it. Be sure to see the crown jewels." Then he did something wonderful. He used a different future form. "You will be amazed," he said. Will. He used will for a prediction, for something he believed was certain to happen. This is a key difference. We use be going to for plans and intentions. We use will for predictions, promises, and instant decisions. His prediction was that I will be amazed. It was a small word, but it opened up a huge new area of expression for me. My English world was getting bigger by the minute. Walking away from the cafe, I felt a new sense of independence. Leo's directions were clear: go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left. You will see the river. The tower is on your right. I repeated the instructions in my head. Go straight. Turn left. On your right. These are essential phrases for any traveler. I started walking, feeling the buzz of the city around me. After a few minutes, I saw the majestic Tower of London in the distance, just as Leo had said. It was even more impressive than in the pictures. I joined a queue for tickets. When it was my turn, the woman at the counter smiled and asked, "Just one ticket for today?" I understood her perfectly. "Yes, one adult, please," I replied, using the phrase I had practiced in my head. She said, "That will be £32. I handed her my credit card. Another successful transaction, another small victory. Inside the fortress, the history was overwhelming. I saw the crown jewels, sparkling behind thick glass. I was truly amazed, just as Leo had predicted. I wanted to express this feeling, but to myself. I thought, I have never seen anything so beautiful. That sentence used a new grammar tense, the present perfect. We use the present perfect to talk about experiences in our life without saying exactly when they happened. I have never seen is a very common and useful structure. It connects my past life to this present moment. I overheard a tour guide talking to a small group. "This castle has stood here for almost 1,000 years, he said. He used the present perfect again, has stood. He used it because the castle started in the past and is still here in the present. That is the core idea of the present perfect. It's about the connection between past and present. My visit to the tower was not just a history lesson, it was an English lesson. I stood there, looking at the ancient stones, and practiced the sentence quietly, "I have visited the Tower of London." It was true, and it was my experience. This tense allowed me to own that experience in English. Leaving the tower, I felt the need for a small, tangible memory of this day. I saw a souvenir shop nearby and went inside. It was filled with flags, miniature buildings, and clothes. I walked over to a rack of postcards. This was a perfect chance to practice a new kind of conversation, shopping. A shop assistant approached me and asked, "Can I help you find anything?" This is a very common question in shops. You can simply answer, "No, thank you. I'm just looking." That's a polite way to say you don't need immediate help. I wanted to be more specific, so I said, "I am looking for a postcard." Using "I am looking for" is excellent for stating what you want to find. She pointed to a spinning display. "The postcards are over there. We have a great selection of London landmarks." I browsed through them, finding one with a beautiful nighttime photo of the Tower Bridge. Then I saw a small, beautiful keychain with the same image. I decided I wanted both. Now came the next step, taking the items to the counter. The cashier smiled and said, "Just these two?" I nodded and said, "Yes, that's all." Then she gave me the total. "That's £7.50, please." I handed her a £10 note. She gave me my change and said, "Here's your change, £2.50. Thank you. Have a great day." The whole interaction was a series of simple, predictable phrases. "That's all." "Here's your change." "Have a great day." These are the building blocks of daily life. Walking out of the shop with my small bag, I felt another surge of confidence. I had successfully navigated a purchase. I thought about the verb I used, to buy. I bought a postcard and a keychain. That is the simple past tense. We use the simple past to talk about completed actions in the past. But then I thought of a more complex way to say it, using the present perfect tense I heard at the tower, "I have bought a souvenir." This implies that the action is relevant to my present situation. I now have the souvenir. It's a subtle difference, but learning these nuances is what makes your English sound more natural. Every small errand is a chance to practice. The afternoon sun was warm on my face as I found a quiet bench near the river. I took out my new postcard and a pen. I wanted to write it to my best friend, Maria, back home. But how do I start a postcard in English? This was a new challenge. I decided to keep it simple. "Dear Maria," I began. That's a safe and friendly start for any letter or card. Then I needed to describe my day. I wanted to use the past tense because I was talking about things that had already happened. I wrote, "I visited the Tower of London today." I used the simple past tense of the verb to visit. For regular verbs, we add ed to make the past tense. Visit-visited. Walk-walked. Talk-talked. It was a good start. My next sentence was, "It was amazing." The past tense of is was. This is an irregular verb, but it's one of the most common. I am I was. You are you were. He is he was. I wanted to tell her about the people I met. I wrote, "I met a friendly chef and a helpful woman." Met is the irregular past tense of meet. I meet I met. I see I saw. I think I thought. Irregular verbs need to be memorized, but you learn them best by using them, like I was doing on this postcard. Then I made a mistake. I wrote, "We eat in a cafe." I looked at it and knew it was wrong. I corrected it too. We ate in a cafe. Ate is the past tense of eat. Another irregular verb. I was learning by doing. Finishing the postcard, I wrote, I miss you. I will see you soon. I used the present tense miss for a current feeling and the future tense will see for a promise. Writing it down helped solidify the grammar in my mind. It wasn't just speaking, writing was a powerful tool for practice. Try it yourself. Write a few sentences about your day in the past tense. I woke up at. I went to. I ate. It will help you remember. You are not just a student, you are a storyteller. Sitting on that bench, looking at the completed postcard, I had a sudden realization. My sentences were a mix of past, present, and future. I had written I visited, past, I miss, present, and I will see, future. Without consciously thinking about it, I was using the fundamental tenses of English to tell a complete story. This is the power of learning through stories and conversations. You stop seeing grammar as separate rules and start using it as a tool to express your life. A pigeon landed near my feet, and I laughed. It was a simple moment of joy. I thought, I am happy. That is the present simple, stating a current fact. Then I thought about the entire day, from my nervous start at the cafe to this peaceful moment by the river. I have had a good day. That's the present perfect tense. Have had comes from the verb to have. We use it to talk about an experience that happened at an unspecified time in the past but is relevant now. My good day is an experience that is now part of my life story. This felt like a breakthrough. The present perfect had seemed so abstract in textbooks, but now it felt natural. I could feel the difference between I had a good day, simple past, the day is over, and I have had a good day, present perfect, the feeling and the experience are still with me now. It was a subtle but beautiful distinction. Learning a language isn't just about being correct, it's about capturing nuance and feeling. I stood up to find a post box. I knew I needed to mail the card. This was another real-world task. I saw a man walking his dog and decided to practice one more question. "Excuse me," I said, "where is the nearest postbox?" He smiled and pointed down the street. "It's just there, on the corner, next to the red building." I thanked him. His directions used prepositions of place I understood, on the corner, next to. Every successful interaction, no matter how small, built my confidence. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to communicate. And with every story you tell, you get better. The postbox was exactly where the man had said, a cheerful red pillar on the corner. I slipped the postcard inside, sending a piece of my adventure across the world. As I walked back towards my hotel, the events of the day replayed in my mind like a movie. But this wasn't just a story about sightseeing, it was a story about language coming to life. And I realized that the most important character in this story wasn't Sarah, or Leo, or the tower. It was me, and my willingness to try. I thought about the fear I felt at the airport, the hesitation in the cafe, and the growing confidence with each small success. The biggest lesson I learned today was that fluency is not about knowing every word. It is about using the words you do know to make a connection. It is about being brave enough to say, I don't understand, and curious enough to ask, what does that mean? Every native speaker you meet was once a beginner in their own language. They understand the struggle. Let me share one final, crucial tip with you. The key to rapid improvement is not just having conversations, it is actively listening to them. Pay attention to how people form their sentences. Notice the small words they use, the phrases that repeat. For example, I heard "no worries" several times today instead of "you're welcome." I heard cheers used for both thank you and goodbye. These are the living, breathing elements of the language that you can only learn by immersing yourself in it, even if that immersion is just a simple conversation at a cafe. My journey is just beginning, and yours is too. But we are now part of a community of learners, all supporting each other. Remember the phrases we practiced today. Remember the feeling of success when you are understood. Carry that feeling with you. Your English story is waiting to be written, one word, one conversation, one connection at a time. And I will be right here with you, learning and growing through every single story. The morning after my adventure, I woke up with a new energy. The sounds of the city outside my hotel window were no longer intimidating, they were an invitation. Today, my mission was to find a good bookstore. I had promised myself I would buy my first book in English. But as I got ready, I realized I had a problem. The hot water in the shower wasn't working. This was not in my plan. It was time to learn how to handle a problem in English. I picked up the phone in my room. My heart beat a little faster. This was a new kind of conversation. A friendly voice answered, "Good morning, reception. How can I help you?" This is a standard greeting in many service situations. I took a deep breath. "Hello," I said, "I have a problem with my shower." That is a clear and direct way to start. You can use it for any issue. "I have a problem with the TV," or "I have a problem with the light." The woman at reception was very understanding. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said. "What seems to be the problem?" This is a common question asking for more details. I explained, "There is no hot water." Using "there is" or "there are" is essential for describing situations. There is a problem. There are no towels. She replied, "Thank you for letting me know. I will send someone to look at it right away." This was a successful interaction. I used "I have" to state my problem and "there is" to describe it. She used "I will" to make a promise about a future action. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. A maintenance man stood there. "Hello," he said, "I am here to look at the shower." He worked for a few minutes and then said, "It's fixed now. You can try it." I turned on the water, it was hot. I said, "Thank you so much for your help." He smiled and said, "No problem. Have a good day." Another problem solved, another conversation conquered. Every small challenge like this makes you stronger and more confident in your new language. The hot shower was a welcome victory, and I felt ready to conquer my next goal, the bookstore. I walked into a large, inviting shop filled with the smell of paper and coffee. The sheer number of books was overwhelming. I saw sections for history, science, cooking, and fiction. I needed to find the section for English learners or simple stories. I remembered a key phrase, "Can you tell me where?" I approached a shop assistant who was stacking books on a shelf. "Excuse me," I began. "Can you tell me where the books for English learners are?" This question structure is incredibly useful. You can use it anywhere. Can you tell me where the bathrooms are? Or can you tell me where the train station is? She smiled and pointed. Of course. They're on the second floor, in the back, next to the children's section. I thanked her and went upstairs. There, I found exactly what I was looking for, shelves labeled English as a foreign language and graded readers. A graded reader is a book that is simplified for language learners. They have different levels, like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This was a perfect discovery. I picked up a beginner-level book that was a collection of short stories. The sentences were short, and the vocabulary was simple. I read the first page right there in the aisle. The story was about a man who lost his keys. It used a lot of past tense verbs, looked, opened, searched. It also used descriptive words like frustrated and relieved. I understood almost everything. The feeling was incredible. It was a story, but it was also a lesson. I was learning new words and seeing grammar in action without even trying. This is the magic of learning through stories. You stop studying and start enjoying. I decided to buy that book. It wasn't just a book, it was my next step in this amazing journey. Back in the quiet of my hotel room, I opened my new book. The first story was about a man looking for a new apartment. I read it slowly, and something amazing happened. I wasn't translating the words in my head anymore, I was just understanding the meaning directly. The sentences painted a picture in my mind. This is the goal of language learning, to stop thinking in your native language and start thinking in English. The story used simple dialogue. The man asked the landlord, "Is the apartment quiet?" The landlord replied, "Yes, it is very quiet. The neighbors are friendly." I noticed the grammar. He used is for the apartment and are for the neighbors. This is subject-verb agreement. A singular subject, the apartment, takes a singular verb, is. A plural subject, the neighbors, takes a plural verb, are. It's a fundamental rule that becomes automatic when you see it in stories. I decided to practice speaking. I read a line from the book aloud. He opened the door and walked into the empty room. I focused on my pronunciation, especially the ed sounds in opened and walked. For regular past tense verbs, the ed ending can have 3 sounds: t as in walked, d as in opened, and ed as in wanted. I repeated the sentence, trying to make it sound natural. Reading aloud is a powerful exercise. It connects your brain, your eyes, and your mouth, making the language more familiar. After finishing the first chapter, I closed the book and tried to retell the story in my own words. A man looked for an apartment. He visited a small apartment. It was quiet and clean. He liked it. This is called summarizing, and it's a fantastic way to check your understanding and activate your vocabulary. You don't need complicated words. Simple, correct sentences are perfect. You are not just a reader, you are a storyteller, and every story you read becomes a part of you. My first full day in London was coming to an end. I sat by the window in my room, watching the city lights begin to twinkle. I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. To practice my new vocabulary, I decided to write a simple list in English of everything I did, just like a diary entry. This is a powerful habit for any language learner. It solidifies what you've learned. I opened a notebook and began, today, I woke up at 8. I ate breakfast in the hotel. I talked to Sarah and Leo in a cafe. I drank coffee. I visited the Tower of London. I bought a postcard and a keychain. I read my new book. Writing it down, I saw a pattern. Many of my sentences use the simple past tense. I noticed the irregular verbs, ate, from eat, drank, from drink, bought, from buy. This wasn't boring memorization, it was my life, my story. Then I thought about the feelings. I wanted to describe those too. I wrote, I was nervous in the morning. The cafe was warm and friendly. The tower was amazing and historic. I am happy and tired now. I used the past tense was for feelings during the day and the present tense and for how I feel in this moment. This is how you move from just reporting facts to expressing your experience. You add adjectives like nervous, friendly, amazing, historic. This simple act of writing for 5 minutes was incredibly helpful. It forced me to recall vocabulary and use grammar correctly. I made a mistake. I first wrote I was nervousness, but I knew that was wrong. Nervous is the adjective. Nervousness is the noun. I corrected it to I was nervous. You learn by making and correcting errors. This small diary entry is my personal textbook. I encourage you to do the same. Write 3 sentences about your day in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. You are building your language, one day at a time. The next morning, I met Leo as planned. The sky was a clear blue, and the city felt full of promise. Today, Leo announced, we are not just going to see a market. You are going to order our lunch. My mission was clear, and a little terrifying. We were going to Borough Market, a place famous for its food. On the way, Leo gave me my first lesson of the day, making requests with I would like and asking for permission with can I. We entered the market, and it was a symphony of smells and sounds. Cheeses, breads, spices, and sweets were everywhere. We stopped at a stall selling hot, delicious-looking pies. Okay, Leo whispered, your turn. I stepped up to the counter. The server said, what can I get for you? I took a breath. I would like 1 chicken pie, please, I said, clearly and slowly. It worked. She immediately picked up a pie. Then, I remembered my lesson. Can I also have a water, please? I asked. Using can I. For adding another item is perfect. She nodded, of course you can. We found a small table to eat. The pie was incredible. Leo looked pleased. You see? You did it perfectly. I would like is polite and clear. Can I? Is great for asking for things or permission. He then taught me a new phrase. If you are not sure what to choose, you can ask, "What do you recommend?" That means, "What do you think is good?" This is a fantastic question for restaurants and shops. It shows you value the server's opinion. Feeling brave, I decided to use my new phrase at a fruit stand later. I asked the seller, "What do you recommend?" He smiled and handed me a bright red strawberry. "Try this," he said. I did, and it was the sweetest strawberry I had ever tasted. I bought a small box. Every successful interaction, every small question asked and understood, was building a new part of my brain, the English-speaking part. You don't just learn the language, you live it. And with each lived experience, it becomes more your own. The rest of the day was a blur of colors and flavors. We tasted cheeses, sampled bread, and smelled exotic spices from around the world. With each stall, my confidence grew. I ordered a piece of that cake and asked for a cup of tea. I was using the simple, powerful language of desire and politeness. Leo was not just a guide, he was a mentor, showing me that language lives in the marketplace, in the exchange of goods and smiles. As we walked out of the bustling market, I felt tired but incredibly happy. I turned to Leo. "Thank you," I said, "for today. For everything." I wanted to express a deeper gratitude for his patience and his friendship. He clapped me on the shoulder. "It was my pleasure, Alex." "Really?" Then he used a word I had heard before but now understood in a new context. "Cheers," he said with a warm smile. In that moment, cheers wasn't just for a toast with a drink, it was a warm, informal way to say thank you and you're welcome and goodbye, all wrapped into one. We said our goodbyes, promising to keep in touch. On my way back to the hotel, I replayed the conversations in my head. I realized I had learned more than just new words and grammar. I had learned the music of the language, the intonation of a question, the rhythm of a request, the warmth in a casual greeting. I had learned that "can I" opens doors, "I would like" gets you what you want, and "what do you recommend" leads to delicious discoveries. This journey is about these small, daily victories. It's about moving from a silent observer to an active participant in the world. You don't need to know every word. You just need the courage to use the words you do know. Your English is already inside you, waiting for its story to be told. Let's tell it together. My last morning in London arrived too quickly. I was packing my suitcase when I realized I had a problem. I had bought a few too many souvenirs, and my suitcase wouldn't close. The zipper refused to move. I looked at the overstuffed bag inside. This was another real-world puzzle to solve. I needed to find a shop to buy a new, larger bag. It was time for one last practical English mission. I went down to the hotel reception. The same friendly woman was there. "Good morning," I said. "I need to buy a new suitcase. Is there a shop near here?" I used the structure "is there," which is perfect for asking about the existence of something. Is there a bank near here? Is there a good restaurant? She nodded. Yes, there's a department store just around the corner. They will have suitcases. Her directions were simple, just around the corner. This is a very common phrase meaning very close, after the turn in the street. I found the store easily. It was huge. I walked to the luggage section and saw many suitcases. A sales assistant approached me. "Can I help you?" she asked. I remembered my successful market strategy. "Yes, please," I said. "I am looking for a medium-sized suitcase." Using the present continuous "I am looking for" clearly stated my intention. She showed me a few options. One was blue, one was black, and one was red. I liked the blue one. I needed to ask about the price. I pointed and asked, "How much is this one?" This is the most important question for any shopper. She told me the price. It was a little expensive. I decided to practice a new skill, negotiating. I asked, "Is there a discount?" My voice was a little quiet, but I said it. She smiled and checked her computer. "I can give you 10% off today," she said. I was thrilled. I didn't just buy a suitcase, I successfully asked for a discount. "I'll take it," I said, using the future tense to confirm my decision. Every challenge, even a broken zipper, is an opportunity to grow. The blue suitcase rolled smoothly behind me as I walked into the airport. It was strange how different everything felt compared to my arrival just a week ago. The same noises that once sounded confusing now felt familiar. The announcements over the loudspeaker were clearer. I could pick out words like boarding, gate, and final call. I wasn't just a passive observer anymore, I was part of the conversation. I joined the queue for check-in. The man in front of me turned around and said, "It's busy today, isn't it?" I understood him perfectly. It was a simple, friendly comment. I knew how to respond. "Yes, it is," I said with a smile. A week ago, I might have just nodded nervously. Now, I could engage. This is the power of practice. You start to understand not just the words, but the intention behind them. At the check-in counter, the agent asked me the usual questions. "Do you have any bags to check in? Did you pack your bags yourself?" I answered confidently, "Yes, just this one," and yes, I did. I noticed my use of the past tense did for her question about a past action, packing. It was automatic. The grammar I had struggled with was becoming a natural part of my speech. Learning English is not about being perfect. It is about being understood. And I was being understood. Sitting at the gate, waiting for my flight, I opened my notebook. I didn't write about my day. Instead, I wrote a list titled What I Learned. Not just vocabulary, but real lessons. 1. Cheers can mean thank you. 2. Asking "What do you recommend?" is a good idea. 3. People are kind if you try. This list was more valuable than any grammar book. It was my personal guide, built from experience. This journey was ending, but a much bigger one was just beginning. I closed my notebook, ready for the next story. The plane soared above the clouds, and London became a map of tiny lights below. I leaned back in my seat, not with exhaustion, but with a feeling of quiet power. The nervous person who had landed here a week ago was gone, replaced by someone who had stories to tell. And that's the final, most important lesson I want to share with you. Your English journey is not a test you pass, it is a collection of stories you gather. Remember the fear of that first hello? It becomes the pride of a full conversation. Remember the confusion of a menu? It becomes the joy of ordering a perfect meal. Every single word you learn is a new color for your paintbrush. Every grammar rule is a tool to shape your thoughts. Do not focus on the mistakes you make. Focus on the connections you build. Each one is a victory. My story with Sarah, Leo, the tower, and the market is just one story. Now, it is your turn. Your story is waiting. It might be at a supermarket, in a song, with a new friend online, or in a book you read to a child. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Write, even if your sentences are short. Listen, even if you only understand a few words. You are not just learning a language, you are building a bridge to a wider world. This is not goodbye. This is just the beginning. Take these simple conversations, these stories, and make them your own. Your adventure in English starts now. I am so excited to hear the stories you will tell.